Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to go over the 5,000 mile or 1 year service I do on my vehicles. The service I do on my truck is a little bit different than the service I do on my car because my truck has some things that the car doesn't have, the car has some things that the truck doesn't have. So it's all going to vary per vehicle, but hopefully you guys can get some ideas from this. I came up with this years ago, and this is the list I go by, and I'll put it up so you guys can check it out. But I just do this religiously every 5,000 miles or 1 year, like I said. With my truck, I usually get to the 1 year mark because I don't put 5,000 miles on my truck every year. I put less than that. But currently, my truck's sitting at like 251,200 and something miles. And I owe it a lot to, I think, what I do and how I maintain my vehicle and the fluids I use. And I hope that this will give you guys some inspiration to maybe come up with your own service schedule and what you guys do. But without further ado, we'll hop right into it and we'll go over all the stuff that I do. Okay, the first thing I like to do is get my oil draining. So we'll come up here, we'll remove the dipstick, wipe off the excess oil, move it off to the side, and then I'll remove the fill cap, wipe off the oil on here as well. Cool. Now we'll move down underneath the truck and we'll start draining the oil. So my truck does have a skid plate that I'm gonna have to remove to get to my my oil drain plug right here and the oil filter. So we'll go ahead and get this removed. Okay, now that we have our skid plate removed, we can go ahead and open up our drain plug here. As I'm waiting for my oil to drain, I like to come up here and start going over some other stuff. I have these Phoenix Systems test strips. What these do is allow me to test my brake fluid and my coolant to tell me if they're still good or not, if they're corrosive, or for the brake fluid or for the coolant, if the freeze point, the glycol percentage is correct, and if it's acidic or not. So what you do is they come in these little packets. So we'll just rip open one of the little packets here, pull out the test strip. One side on here you can see is for brake fluid, the other side is for the coolant. And all you do is for the brake side, we'll open up the top of our reservoir here and just dip this down. I know that this brake fluid is going to be good. I literally just changed it last week. If you guys haven't seen that video, I teach you guys how to bleed your own brakes, so make sure you check that video out if you haven't. But I just leave it in there for a couple seconds, pull it out. Make sure you don't drip this on anything. It is corrosive. So I always keep a little napkin here. Just dab it off. Now I can hold it up to the chart that's on the bottom here for the brake fluid, and I can see that it is good. It is, it's not acidic. And now we can move on to the coolant. So we'll go over here to our radiator, do the same thing. Don't do this if your car is hot. This will be under pressure. You can burn yourself. So be sure it's cooled off a little bit before you do this. Just pop your cap real slow because there might be pressure. Set that off to the side, and same thing, just dip it in here. Couple seconds. Pull it out, dry it off. And we'll hold this one up to our chart. So we can see here my glycol percentage is correct, but I'm at like a 5.5, so it is getting corrosive. So I will need to change my coolant here soon, so that's good to know. Maybe it's a 6.5, but still, I have a bunch of coolant, so I'll be sure to get onto that within the next week or two and get that changed out. So we'll just put this back on. Make sure that you put your cap back on correctly. You don't want your radiator leaking. And as I'm up here, I'm going to go ahead and check my other fluids, such as my power steering and my transmission fluid, and we'll pull my my air filter and make sure that that's still nice and clean as well. So now we're back underneath here. So now I'm gonna go ahead and pull off my oil filter, which is kind of an awkward spot on this truck. But I got my filter wrench onto my ratchet. I'll just go up here and break it loose. Move my drain pan underneath it here, so I'll make a mess. Sorry about that, I accidentally knocked over the camera there, but I broke open my filter. So now I'll just unscrew it. Let it leak out. All right, I let that drain for a second while I went and cleaned up my arm. And we'll wipe up some of this oil that dripped. Put this napkin around it so I can unscrew it. And we'll put it into our drain pan here. Let that drain out. I like to reach back up here and try and clean up around where the filter goes onto where the filter right here. But like I was saying before I knocked over the phone there, I like to go up here and clean up around where the filter screws on. Then we'll grab our new filter. I like to use either K&N or the one we just took off is a Mobile One. I like Mobile One and K&N. I always just buy the one that's on sale when I'm gonna do an oil change, and this go around happened to be the K&N one. So we'll pull our new filter out. I always get a little bit of oil and put it around the rubber ring here, just so we get a good seal. And then we'll put this up here, screw it in. You don't want to put it on super tight. You just want it real snug. If you put it on super tight, when you try and go pull it off next time, it's going to be a pain. Okay, now we're all ready to put our drain plug back. Go ahead and wipe it up real good. So my drain plug has these gaskets. I always buy like a 20 pack of these, and every time I do an oil change, I make sure I put a new one on. I change it out. So we'll pull that off, wipe this up around here real good. I'll put my my new gasket on. Get this started here. Wipe it up one more time. Okay, and then I always torque my drain plug to the correct foot-pounds. On this truck, it's 27. There we go, all torqued up. Wipe up any oil that's still dripping from anywhere. That filter always makes a mess. Man, this fucking All right, and we'll pull all this stuff out of the way now, and we'll put the skid plate back. Guys, now it's time to add the oil. I like to use Mobile One Extended Performance. It's the only oil I've used for years now. I think it's the best. It protects for up to 20,000 miles. Obviously, I do my oil changes every 5,000 miles on both my cars, or every 1 year. On my truck, I usually don't reach the 5,000 mile mark, so every year I do this. And yeah, it says it protects up to 20,000, but I'm more comfortable with 5,000. I want my car to last a long time. I like to keep the oil clean, so that's why I use the good stuff, but I do change it way earlier than it says to. So we'll go ahead and add oil. My truck takes 5.5 quarts. What we're gonna do is we're gonna add the 5 quarts I got here, and then we're gonna start up the truck to fill that oil filter we put in. Some people pre-fill the oil filter. I personally don't like to do that. I end up making a mess trying to get it screwed back on when I pre-fill it. So I'll pour this in, we'll start up the truck, we'll let that fill, we'll dip it with our dipstick and see if we need to add more. Okay, we get that first 5 quarts added in. I'll just wipe up the oil right here. We'll put our fill cap back on. Wipe off our dipstick. Make sure there's no dirt or anything on it since we sat it to the side there. Put this back. And now we'll start up the truck and fill that oil filter. Okay guys, I'll let that run for about a minute. At this point I like to look underneath as well and make sure that everything's tight, nothing's leaking, and then we'll go ahead and we'll shut it off and we'll check that dipstick again and make sure we're good. Alright, so check it out. See if we're right at the mark. And we're almost there. We're good. Just kind of look forward. You can see here, but my driveway is at a slant. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to chalk my front tires, and then I'm going to lift the rear of the truck first, and then I'll come up to the front, lift the front of the truck first. So we'll go ahead and chalk the fronts. That way when I'm lifting up the back of the truck's not going to want to roll backwards. All right, now we'll go ahead and get the truck jacked up. All right guys, so now I got all 4 tires off the ground. I'll go ahead and start pulling the wheels off. What I do here is I pull my drums off so I can inspect my brakes. So what I do is make sure you have your emergency brake off. If your emergency brake's on, you're not going to be able to pull your drum off. If you guys don't have drum brakes, you can skip to the next part, and we're going to talk about disc brakes next, because on both my cars I have drums in the back and disc in the front. But anyways, this is what I do every time I do this 5,000 mile service. You get a hammer and go around and tap. Some of these holes actually have threads in them, so you can get a screw that fits in there, and you can put a screw in on different angles, and you can slowly pull the drum off if the drum's really seized on there. but I don't live where we have rust or anything, so I just get a hammer and I tap around it, and it usually breaks it loose enough to where I can pull the drum off, no problem. And I just go ahead and I look here and inspect my my shoes to make sure that they're not super thin. This one's starting to get thin. I'm going to need to get some new shoes for the rear here. But I always grab just a can of brake cleaner, and I go ahead and I clean all the brake dust out of here. And I do this every 5,000 miles just to keep everything clean and working nice in here. I don't want that brake dust to start messing with stuff and corroding stuff. So I just do this every time. It makes me feel better about keeping it nice and clean. Also get the drum here. Same thing. I pour out the brake dust that's in there, and then I just give it a good spray all the way around. And go ahead and slide it back in. And then I'll go ahead and do the other side, and then we'll move on to the disc brakes. So I went ahead and finished up that driver's side rear on the drum brakes. As soon as I'm done with the drum brakes, I make sure I go ahead and reset my emergency brake. Especially if you're working on a hill or something, you don't want to forget to do that once you lower the vehicle back down. The disc brakes here are real simple. I have one of these gauges, and I go ahead, I'll put up a picture here so it's easier to see, but I can go up to the inside and outside of the pads, and I can see what thickness they are. And that's pretty much all I do. Once I'm done doing that, I'll just grab some brake clean, go ahead and spray the disc just in case I put my hands on here or something and got fingerprints. But go ahead and just give it a good spray down. And then I'll move to the other side and do the driver's side. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna rotate the tires in the correct pattern. I will put up this chart for you guys right now so you can see, but it's gonna be different if you have a front wheel drive vehicle or a rear wheel drive vehicle. So obviously this is a rear wheel drive truck. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna move the two rears straight forward, and then the two fronts, the driver's side front will go to the passenger side rear. The passenger side front will go to the driver's side rear. So we'll go ahead, I'll speed up the camera, and I'm gonna do that real quick, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and get the wheels put back on now. All right, so I never start out with the impact. I have this extension. I put a shallow socket on it, and I get all the lug nuts just started with this first. All right, once I got them all started and I know they're not gonna cross thread as I'm driving them in, I'll get my impact and I'll do a star pattern. And then I'll just go around one time, hit them all one more time. I'm not going to go ahead and put the cover back on because I like to torque my lug nuts, so I'll go ahead and throw the other three wheels back on, and then we'll go ahead and we'll lower the truck, and then we'll torque these. What I like to do before I lower the truck back on the ground off those jack stands is I like to crawl under the truck, and I like to grease those Zerk fittings on my drive shaft for the U-joints. It just makes it last a little bit longer. I like to make sure I get the wheels and tires back on the truck before I do this step. We are going to be working underneath the truck. It's just an extra safety precaution to have the tires back on in case one of the jack stands does give or something. The truck's not going to come crashing down on us. The tires should save us. But you're going to want to make sure you put the truck in neutral, take that emergency brake off. When we're under there, we'll be able to spin that drive shaft and get to all those Zerk fittings really easy by doing that. And I like to use the Lucas Red and Tacky grease. That's like my go-to grease. So I'll go ahead and I'll get the camera set up down below the truck and we'll go ahead and grease all those Zerk fittings. What we're going to do now is you want to make sure you put your car back in park and set that emergency brake. We're going to go ahead and lower the truck back down. I'm going to lower the front first, chalk those front tires, and then I'll move to the back, jack it up, pull those jack stands out and lower the rear, and then we'll move to the next step. Got the truck all lowered down. I'm going to go ahead and torque my lug nuts. On this truck, they're 83 foot-pounds, so make sure you look up in your manual for your vehicle what the torque specs are. But we'll go ahead and we'll torque them in the star pattern. And then I like to go around one time and just check them all. We're all good. Then I'll go ahead and put my cover back on. Same thing, I like to use a screwdriver to get them started before I hit them with the impact. That one started. All right, we're all good. So I'm going to go ahead and do the other three wheels and then we'll move on to the next thing. Down to the other three wheels, I got them all torqued to spec and I got the caps put back on. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to make sure that my tires are at the correct pressure. If you guys open up the driver's side door of your car, most cars in the door jamb tell you what your tires pressure should be at. So make sure you check that. My truck, I have aftermarket wheels and tires on it. So I'm not going to go off of that. I'm going to go off of what pressure it says on the tire. So we'll go ahead, we'll remove the valve stem cap here. On my my inflator right here, I'll have a readout what the pressure is, so I want to make sure I'm checking this first. And we're already at the correct pressure it should be at. So I'll put my cap back on. Once I have the tires at the correct pressure, I always get my tire depth gauge and I will go ahead and check the threads, and we're still in the green. If you guys are in the yellow or the red, make sure you start thinking about getting some new tires. So I'm going to go ahead, do this to the rest of them, and then we'll move on to the next step. Wrapping it up here now. What I like to do at this point, since we've been busy doing other stuff, I like to come back here, make sure there's nothing leaking. I like to inspect the engine, make sure I don't see leaks coming from anywhere else. I like to inspect my belts, make sure my belt tension is nice, and make sure that they're not cracked or worn out. I like to fill up my windshield washer fluid reservoir at this time as well. Just do an overall inspection, make sure I don't leave any of the caps undone, make sure I put all my dipsticks back in. Normally I would test my battery at this point as well, but this is a brand new battery. I know it's good, I'm not going to test it. If you guys want to see how to test your battery using this top-down battery tester, let me know down in the comment section, and I'll do a designated video just for this. This is a super handy tool, and it's pretty cheap. I also like to do a walk around the truck. I'll remove the two front chocks that we put under those tires right now, and I'll walk around, make sure I didn't leave any tools laying underneath the truck or on the truck, because we're almost done, and I don't want to drive out of the driveway and still have the chocks down or have some tools laying on the truck. So I'll just do an overall inspection, and then we'll move on to the final step. And the final step, what I like about the K&N filters is if you get them, they come with the thing you put in your window for your mileage and stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and fill this out. But if you don't buy the K&N filters, like sometimes I told you guys I get the Mobile One ones, they don't come with that. So I just bought a pack of these. You can get them on Amazon. I got a pack of like 100 of them for $10 or something like that, and I've had them for years. But if mine doesn't come with it, I use these ones. And then I just update my maintenance log. I have a whole maintenance log on my iPad here for each one of my cars, and I'll go through and I'll update everything we did, everything we checked, and what still needs to be done. Like I said, we checked that coolant. That coolant's going to need to get done. Also, I plan on doing my transmission fluid here soon. But I'll go ahead and get all this updated, and we'll go over a couple more things, and we'll wrap up the video. That's it for the 5,000 mile service I do on my truck. I do this to both of my vehicles. Obviously, per car is going to be different. Like on my Corolla, it has a CVT transmission, and I am unable to check the fluid level or the fluid in there, so that's different. Also, it's front wheel drive, so I can't grease the drive shaft or anything. So per car, it's going to be a little bit different. You're going to have to determine what you need to do to your car. But we'll go over some stuff here that we use in the video, some stuff you're probably going to need to get to do a lot of this. You're going to want to go to the store, make sure you get the correct oil for your car. Like I said, I'm a huge fan of the Mobile One Extended Performance. I think Mobile One makes the best oil. It's what I like to use. Make sure you pick yourself up a decent filter. Don't cheap out on your filter. It's protecting your engine. Spend the extra couple bucks and get yourself a good filter. Like I said, I'm a huge fan of the K&N ones. I also like the Mobile One ones, but I just go with whatever one is cheaper the time I'm doing the oil change. Make sure you get yourself a gasket for your oil drain plug. Like I said, I buy these in a pack of 10. What's nice is they fit my Corolla and Tacoma. They're the same size, so I don't have to buy two different sizes. Also, a way to mark your mileage, so you know when your next service needs to be done. Like I said, it's nice that the K&N ones supply you with this, but if they don't, make sure you get yourself some of these ones. Some of the tools you're gonna need, you're gonna want a drain pan. When you drain that oil, you're gonna want a way to pull off that drain plug. So I like to use these wrenches, but you can get away. You can also use just a ratchet and some sockets, or a regular wrench, whatever you prefer. But make sure you pick yourself up some sockets. You're gonna need some sockets if you want to. If you have a skid plate and you need to remove it, you're gonna want a way to remove your oil filter. I have these Motive Tools filter. I guess they're filter sockets. These are really nice, made in USA. I'll link them down below. I really like the stuff they make. But they make all different kinds of ones. They make universal ones. These ones are made for Toyota. You're going to want a way to lift your car off the ground. Obviously, you're not going to be able to just slide underneath and do the oil change right away. If you have a car, you're going to need to jack it up first. You're going to want to do that safely. Make sure you got yourself a jack of some kind. Your car may come with a bottle jack or a little scissor jack, which is fine to use, but make sure you have jack stands. Do not lift your car up just by your jack and crawl underneath it. It is not safe. Make sure it is supported with jack stands. After you get on the jack stands, make sure you give your car a good little shake. Make sure they're on there. It's on there real good before you climb under and put yourself in harm's way. Also, make sure you chalk your tires, especially if you're on an incline or something. You don't want your car rolling away as soon as you start lifting it. So you want to chalk. You're going to need a way to pull those wheels off the car. So either an electric impact like I got here. I used to have an air impact, but I don't really use my air tools too much anymore. Or just a regular old tire iron you can get away with as well. If you have drum brakes, you're going to need a way to knock those drums loose. So make sure you got yourself a hammer. Also, you're going to want to pick yourself up some brake clean to make sure you get in there and clean it out real nice. When you want to refill your oil, make sure you have a funnel. You're going to want a grease gun if you have a drive shaft to grease those U-joints. You're going to want a way to make sure you're not over tightening or not tightening stuff enough. You're going to want some torque wrenches. I have a 3/8 inch one here. This one I use for the drain plug. And then I have a 1/2 inch one here, which I use for the wheels. The reason I have two is because this one doesn't go high enough to do the wheels, and this one doesn't go low enough to do the drain plug. So you might need to get yourself two separate ones. I know they, some brands make some with, that do really small increments and really large increments all into one. These are cheaper torque wrenches, but I've had them for a long time. I like them. When you're done using your torque wrenches, make sure you set them back to the lowest setting. You don't want that tension on the spring. You will wear out your torque wrench. So make sure you do that. You might need some kind of an extension. Like you guys saw that I was using this setup because my wheels, the lug nuts sit pretty far in there. I wouldn't have been able to torque them with just the socket and the torque wrench. I needed an extension to get in there. You guys saw me use these two little impact guns. You don't need them. They are super handy. I really like these two all these Milwaukee impact guns I think are top notch. So if you guys are interested in upgrading to something better than just using your hands or a air option or something, I would definitely go with the Milwaukee stuff. Grab yourself a battery tester. This thing is super cheap and super handy, and it'll leave you it'll keep you from getting stranded if your battery's starting to give it up. This will tell you if your battery is going to need to be replaced soon. Get yourself one of these gauges for checking the thickness of your brake pads. You can get these for $5-6. I think they also sell them at Harbor Freight. Tire depth gauge. Make sure you get one of these. They're a couple bucks. You don't want to be running around with bald tires. It's dangerous if it's wet out, or if you live in the snow or something. You want to make sure you got plenty of tread on those tires. Check out the Phoenix Systems test strips for checking your brake and coolant. Super handy, like you guys saw. I'm going to need to do my coolant soon. There's not really any other way you'd be able to test to see if it's getting acidic without this. So these are super handy. I really like those. Also, you make sure you guys got some PPE. You guys saw me switching between the rubber gloves and these gloves. Your hands get real sweaty in just rubber gloves. That's why I only use them when I'm doing stuff with the liquids. But when I'm just using the tools or just I don't need to worry about soaking my gloves in anything. They're not going to get wet. Then I'll go ahead and use these. Also some safety glasses. You don't want stuff falling in your face when you're working underneath the truck there. Make sure you guys dispose of your waste oil correctly in your filter. Almost forgot. I use this fender cover by Lyle Tools, but you want a way to protect the outside of your car. You don't want to scratch your paint or drop fluids on there. Before I had this, I would just use a towel, but this is super nice because it comes with some rubber grip on the back, where the towel used to just slide off all the time. But you want to make sure you protect your paint and you don't want to be dripping stuff all over your car. But that is it. Like I said, every car is going to be different, but I hope you guys could take some stuff away from this. If you have comments, please leave them down in the comment section. Okay guys, as always, thank you for watching. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell icon if you want to be notified when I upload a new video. Also, follow our Instagram. I post a lot of pictures and stuff on there. And I'll see you again soon for another video. Later.